Welcome to the Pastor Speak podcast. I was just trying to figure out with Tracy if I need to do something boring, like a boring intro or not. But today, even though it's called the Pastor Speak podcast, we have no pastors at the table.
There are 0 pastors in the room today. Yeah.
But I am joined by Tracy.
Good morning or afternoon or whenever you're listening to this.
It's 2:00, which means nap time for me right now.
Yes.
Today was rough. And then I also have Rebecca Glover. So first time on the podcast.
Yes.
Woo!
Yay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Long-time listener, first-time participant.
Guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like first-time caller, but you're not calling.
You're not a caller.
No.
Yeah.
And we have called you.
Yes.
Oh.
And I did not call back intentionally because I think it was the Christmas.
Yes.
And I was like, no, I'm probably going to get this wrong. So sorry, Micah.
Micah did that to me a couple times. Once I answered. One time I immediately silenced it, and then he called back again, and I silenced it again. I was pumping, so I was like, I'm not answering right now.
So now everyone knows.
This is a female-oriented podcast. No.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be here too, I guess. So Rebecca has been on staff for how long?
Since November.
Okay, so it's been just like 8 or 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go with
Super
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about your role here in a little bit. But right now, I want to talk about like little kids ministry,
Yay.
pre-K ministry. So preschool ministry is close to my heart. I have 2 kids in preschool
few?
ministry. I have a few. I'm helping the best I can. But I wanted to ask about how you and Jen over at our Ridgeview campus have worked to make preschool ministry very welcoming.
Yeah. Well, I would love to take a lot of credit for it, but honestly, preschool ministry at Blue Valley has such a long and rich history that it has been really great for a very long time. It started with Rhonda Allen, who is still in our church family, and then Jamie Locke was the director after that, and she's still here as well. And I took over 10 years ago and just kept it going. But when Adam and I joined Blue Valley, we walked in the preschool doors. We did not have kids at the time. We were pretty newly married. And Rhonda Allen was the first person that greeted us and introduced us. And, it was like, she found out what I did and she's like, oh, great, I can use you. But we just felt really welcomed already. So I feel like our goal has just kind of been to carry on that tradition. Of just being really welcoming and seeing people when they come in the doors. One of my goals is always to say everybody's name when they come in, kids' names when they come in the door. I don't always remember parents. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
But I know it's Emmeline and Anna's parents, But just saying everybody's name and making sure they feel valued when they come in the door, and try to be very informative as well, because especially as a parent of such a young child and you're planning on dropping off a child in a new space, you don't know anything about it. I want them to know everything that they can in a few minutes to feel as comfortable as possible with dropping off their kid. So, safety, security, procedures, people, all those things. And then one more thing, I guess, would just be making sure kids feel welcome. And we really try to do that by making sure kids are seen in the classroom and they can see themselves in the classroom. So coming to the door and they can see their name on the door, their face on the door, or seeing artwork of theirs on the walls. Just making sure they have a space that they know is theirs. And those are some really important things to make people feel welcome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Rebecca, do you have anything to add to that about what you do on Sunday mornings to help people feel welcome?
Sometimes I help at the greeter desk, which I mimic very much what Tracy does.
Yeah.
And then I've taught Sunday school for the last 4 years. We've been here at Blue Valley, either at 11 o'clock or at 9:30. But just meeting the kid where they are that morning is, I feel like, very, very super helpful. And it makes the kid want to come back every week.
So getting to know kids' names is super important. But what about first-time visitors or first-time guests?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like we've really struggled in that area. So this year, that's been one of our target areas to improve. And I do think we're doing a better job at that. I'm not saying that's anybody has fallen, and nothing has fallen through the cracks because of anyone else. It's been because of me and my team, I think, because we just haven't had a process in place, and I haven't been able to share a process. But now what we do is when somebody comes in, we get their information, we put it in the computer so that they can have their name tag, and then they immediately will get, our greeter team will do a first-time visitor bag with just some fun things in it for the kids, stickers, a little card, some other stuff. And we take that to the classroom and put that on their hook. And then we make sure either the classroom teacher or our greeting staff immediately writes a postcard to mail home the next week or that week. So those are things we do for the kid. And then for the parents, we put their information into our workflow in Planning Center, which is our church management app. And they go through several specific steps. We send them a text on Sunday afternoons and make sure that they just know we know they were there. And then we send a follow-up email, Jonathan does, and usually send them a gift card so that they can go to McLean's and grab some coffee on Sunday morning before they come back again or wherever they go. And then we also send a follow-up 30-day text. So 30 days after they've come, I just send them a text and say, hey, we prayed for you today, and make sure we actually pray for them. And that's actually surprisingly the one that people respond to the most, which has been kind of surprising. But they either tell me, hey, thank you so much, we're somewhere else, or thank you so much, and now we know each other because they've been there for several weeks. Yeah. So like the first text that I send on Sunday afternoons, nobody responds to that. Sure. But usually they do respond to the 30-day text, which is kind of cool. So,
that is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that even encapsulates like the next question that I had was the visitor follow-up process. Yep. But I was thinking of like, how do you integrate kids into church? And could you explain or expand upon like some of the events you do throughout the year and how that helps kids get integrated into church?
Yeah, well, I'll let Rebecca talk about our biggest event, which is Cookie Days. Yeah. I can't remember now how many years we've been doing it. 30-something. Do you remember what it was?
I think this last one was our 36th.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think so.
Yep.
Yes. So if I remember correctly, Rhonda Allen started it in her home. In her home. So yeah, it's our biggest event, one that we get, I feel like, the most community participants in. They are always the ones to sign up for Friday. So it's Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday afternoon. Saturday afternoon. And it is centered around the birth of Jesus, and you just go from station to station. You get to cut out cookies, decorate baked cookies, make a placemat.
Yeah. That one has been really helpful as far as like exposure to the community, because anybody can come and it's low risk. You know, we're not asking a lot of people who come. It feels very comfortable, and it kind of becomes a tradition for families, whether they attend church here or not. So that's been one way that we invite people in and make people feel welcome, I think. We also do VBS, and most people know what VBS is. We're not very welcoming in that because we just don't have the space or the volunteers. I would love to be more welcoming.
Say Ridgeview was completely full.
Like
way overcrowded. It felt like.
I bet, yes. So that one is not very welcoming for preschoolers that aren't there. It's great when they are there. But the other thing that it's not even preschool ministry, the library does story time in the summer, and that is probably, if not the top, it's top 2 for sure of ways to invite families in, because it is extremely low risk and people love it, and it's easy to invite a neighbor, and it's easy to build relationships too. Sure. So thank you, library ministry, for always doing a fantastic job. Yes.
And Thursday nights during the summer, you were doing like preschool park tour?
Yeah, usually, it's mostly Thursday morning.
Yeah, so Thursday mornings. Tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's tomorrow night. That's why
is the one nighttime one for working parents. But from now until the end of July, except for July 3rd,
of course.
we are we are visiting parks around Johnson County.
Okay.
So we'll have a gardener one. like West Olathe, all
Shawnee
over.
Mission.
Yeah, Shawnee Mission.
Also, very low risk. You
Yeah.
can
Yes.
invite anybody. Yeah, so it's super fun. You never know who you'll meet there. We saw the Mahomes kids last week.
Yes.
So that was
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
fun.
I also remember Camp Big Church. That was
Oh,
a thing,
yes.
too.
I love Camp Big Church. And if you're wondering, that isn't going to be an every other year event
Okay.
because it is only three and up, 3 through kindergarten. And so if we did it every year, people don't need to come every year, really, because it'll be the same thing every year with the same goal. So I think having it every other year will kind of hit the right age group and the right amount. But that's an opportunity to come and learn how to be a part of the church and what the church is and what they do and what it's like to be in big church and who's in big church. You get to learn about baptism and what preaching is and worship. Micah Eastridge led worship for us. We learned about Lord's Supper. I can't remember all the stations off the top of my head. Prayer, I think, was the other one.
You didn't have a tech booth station.
Didn't have a tech booth station. I'm sorry. They might really enjoy that one, though.
Yeah.
They
See all the
actually probably
buttons?
would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play with all the knobs. It'd be really fun. So they had a really good time, and it was super fun. And we had awesome volunteers that just made it come alive. And then we also gave worship bags that have lots of fidgets and a notebook and markers for each kiddo that came, and they can keep that one and bring it to church every Sunday to help them be able to keep their hands busy but their ears listening.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful. And then Missy Ausler, our admin, she makes listening pages for every service.
Yep.
That are tailored for little kids that help them engage in what our speakers are doing.
Yeah, and she even makes ones for big kids too that have
She
like
does, yes.
marking down words and stuff,
Yes.
which is good because my daughter's like paying attention and now
Yeah,
she's writing,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is pretty cool to see. So you have these events that point people to like how to be the church, even little kids, how to be the church or be a part of the church. But that gets me thinking about like big kid ministry and student ministry and even adult ministry. So how does little kids ministry fit in to that ministry roadmap? What is like a theological focus you guys have? How do you feed into the rest of the ministries?
So we say that everything starts with what we do in little kids. We're the very foundation of everything that big kids and students and adults are learning. We're the entry point into the map, I guess you could say. And our guiding questions that we use are, who is God? What did God do for us? And what can we do for him? And those three big foundational questions really encompass everything that we're ever going to teach in little kids. And we stick to the foundations. We do the same stories over and over again throughout all of little kids, try to go through Genesis through really the Pauline letters, I guess, is as far as we get.
You don't do Revelation?
No, we don't do Revelation. But over and over again so that kids are getting exposed to that every year through little kids. And then we also, spend a good amount of time on what we call core truth questions. And it's taken from New City Catechism, and we pair a catechism question with what our unit theme is and what our lessons are. And they'll do the same question for like 4 weeks in a row for a month, you know.
Okay.
And it's something also very foundational. And that just serves as like guardrails. You know, I try to explain to my teachers and parents that little kids ministry is like giving families or preschoolers the top of the puzzle box. We want them to kind of see the big picture. And then as kids grow, they'll understand and be able to put the pieces in place. But those core truth questions are really like the borders, you know, because we want them to stay within certain borders of faith. And those questions, even though they may not be memorizing it, they're just saying it over and over again. Hopefully it'll stick in their brains. And then later on, when they hear something that is foreign or outside those guardrails, they'll think, I don't know if that's true, and be able to go back and find what is true.
We just talked about that last a week or so ago at our Gardner Bible study with Colossians, right?
Yes.
Knowing the genuine article, when something else comes along, you can go, that's not
That's
there.
not quite right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have that resource available As a parent, do you have that catechism available?
Yes. So I have a couple options. Number one, what we have is from New City Catechism, and they have an app and they have a kids book and songs and all kinds of things. It has like 52 questions.
Yeah.
We only use 14 questions in Little Kids Ministry because that's about what we get through in a year.
Yeah.
And this year, our pre-K and K classes will get their own set of cards on a keychain to go home. So that will be for parents.
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just asking for a friend. But let's change topics a little bit. And Rebecca, I want to hear your story. So but first, let's hear about your role here at Blue Valley Church. So what's your role?
I am the early childhood events coordinator.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's my official title.
Yeah, I always get mine mixed up. Am I media and production or production and media? It doesn't really matter. I don't know. To John,
I just
it matters.
do stuff.
Yeah. I push buttons, and sometimes I push people's buttons. But yeah, so you're an events coordinator.
Yes.
Yeah. You helped out with what events so far?
So far, Cookie Days. We had an outreach event in February, which was at Pump It Up.
Oh, yeah.
That was our Love Thy Neighbor themed month.
It was super awesome.
And we outreached a lot. VBS, Playground Park Tour, and I'm slowly already preparing for Cookie Days for this year.
It's not July yet, but
yes.
still have to think about Christmas.
We've
And
already done inventory for next year.
Yes.
So
Yes, and we have a super fun little kids event in August.
Okay, what's that going to be? Can you tell?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you
A
can't. then-
stuffy sleepover / meet the teacher. So you will come and meet your teacher that Saturday, and then you will check in your stuffy, and they'll get a little security tag, all of that. And then the next morning, the little kid can come pick up their stuffy from their classroom, their new classroom. It'll be promotion weekend.
Okay.
And there will be photos on Sunday morning of all the shenanigans that the stuffies got into while unsupervised at church on Saturday
That's
night.
great.
Yes, there may be a stuffy floating on a floaty in the baptistry. We're
that's
not
great.
sure about that yet, but
I can make sure that happens.
yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. Glad to have you here and
you.
helping out with all of the events and stuff because there's a lot.
Oh
that goes
man,
on to those events.
she's done so much, and I definitely could not have completed my whole job without her this year. So that's been really fantastic. I would be a puddle on the ground.
I believe you mentioned that you and Kyle came to Blue Valley about 4 years ago.
Yes.
Could you tell me about like where you were, why you were looking for a new church, and what drew you to Blue Valley?
Yeah. So I'll try to make this short and sweet.
That's fine.
I was raised Catholic. So prior to this, we were going to Prince of Peace in Olathe. Kyle was raised Southern Baptist. And we, out of comfortability for myself, we kind of always just went to a Catholic church. I had never stepped inside of a Baptist church before. But we were neighbors to Danny and Caleb Lynch prior to them moving away.
Okay.
But 4 years ago, they invited, I guess in 2020, after they had their first child, we took them a gift. We did not know them. We knew Caleb's father-in-law. We would see him out in the yard and stuff. But we took them a gift. And then that following May, the end of May, Danny invited Bentley to BBS. And so I signed him up. And we were looking for a church, just a more welcoming church, I would say. And then I would say the week before VBS, Kyle and I were like, we should probably attend this church one time just to see what they're about.
Maybe it's weird.
Yeah, we have no idea. And so we came this Sunday before VBS, and all the things happened that Sunday. It was Communion Sunday, which
So they kneeled.
It was Communion Sunday, which I'm used to doing every Sunday. It's just different.
Yeah.
On top of, Derek also preached about all women, you need to submit to your husband.
Okay.
And so afterwards, Caleb apologized that was the first sermon that we heard.
It's either that or money, right?
Yeah.
Pastors are going to do that.
And then we loved it. like, I remember our drive home and Kyle was like, so what did you think? And I was like, can we go back next Sunday? And so that was our introduction to Blue Valley.
And I know Kyle volunteers too. So what kind of things does Kyle volunteer for?
So we kind of, it may have been a red flag at first, but we're just all or nothing type people. And
Sure.
so we just dove right in, except for Sunday school. That kind of took me a while. But I want to say after maybe a month, we started going to Sunday school. And then a couple weeks after that, we became members. And then he instantly started serving on the security team. And we started helping in students. I started helping in little kids. And then maybe a year after that, he became a deacon. And I continued to serve in little kids because I may be biased, but it's the best. And yeah, now I'm on staff.
Yeah. So thinking about like maybe after your first visit, what kind of things made it to where you wanted to keep coming back at Blue Valley?
I would really say we always felt welcome. For the longest time, we were just Bentley and Ellie's parents. Nobody really knew our names.
Okay.
But everyone was so sweet to our kids. And our Sunday school class, just the feel of community, it feels like home here. And we've seen our kids grow and just continue to ask questions, and you see the wheels turning. And a couple years ago, we went through some hard things, and just the community from our Sunday school class, and Kyle traveled for work at the time, so I was home for 2 weeks at a time just with me and the kids, and people were just constantly reaching out, and not even just from our Sunday school class, just from mentor moms, from Mom Connection, and just other people that I met through volunteering in little kids. It's a great little support system we have here.
If you could take that answer and like sum it up, or maybe even describe it, like to answer this question, what has God done in your lives since being at Blue Valley?
I feel like, me personally, I've grown so much more in my faith. Just from, growing up, I would go to catechism and I would go to mass, but I've just grown so much more between Derek's style of preaching and just Blue Valley as a whole, their style of preaching directly from the Bible, and our D groups, and just knowing the truth. I feel like that in itself has helped us grow so much more.
Yeah, very cool. I didn't grow up Catholic. I grew up Baptist, so it was like at home for me. What's the biggest difference from the Catholic churches you've grown up in and Blue Valley's church?
I would say the biggest difference, outside of in the Catholic Church, they only preach from the Gospels. I would say I could still recite from start to finish a mass in my head. So I would say one of the biggest differences is every single Sunday, and I feel like our Sunday school curriculum very much a lot of times intertwines with Derek's sermon.
Yeah.
So I come home every Sunday learning more versus coming home every Sunday just being like, okay, I went to church today. I'm continuing to grow and ask questions and all of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. So what are you excited about for the future?
Ooh, I feel like my family continuing to grow here. I want my kids to continue to grow. Just, it's sad to say, but in August I won't have kids and little kids anymore.
So hard.
Yes. But we have a great big kids ministry. This is Bentley's first year in it, and it's great. And I know students is great and all the things, but seeing them continue to grow and seeing our Sunday school class is getting bigger. And so the community in that is great. And I feel like I'm excited for that and welcoming new people and seeing that and just seeing
Very cool.
all that grow. Yeah.
All right. Now, as an element of fun, what's like one of the funniest things you've experienced at Blue Valley?
As an attender or a staff member?
Maybe you need two, one in each category.
Ooh, I
should have prepped you for this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had some thinking time.
Oh my
I have
goodness.
No idea.
I feel like as a staff member, our Monday staff meetings are just funny. Sometimes.
Not at all what you expected.
No.
Not at all what I expected. Not at all what I expected. I thought it was going to be very.
Tell me what you expected a Monday morning would be like.
I thought it was going to be more.
Business meeting.
Yes. Yes. I did not think there'd be jokes told.
Not as much
my
potty
gosh.
humor.
Yes. I did not think we'd spend 20 minutes talking about a gorilla and 100 men.
Yeah.
And I did not think that was going to
If we're in
happen.
a room for more than 5 minutes, somene's going to be talking about potty humor
Yes,
kind of stuff.
yes.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
not expecting that.
Yes. I don't know. I've been on staff now for 10 years,
Yeah.
so it's hard to separate pre-staff from current life, I guess. But I just really like our staff, I guess. I just like the supportive atmosphere. I came from a job where I was not at all supported, and it was a pretty toxic work environment. And to be here where people know you and love you and support you and just want you to succeed and do the best that you can, and support you when you're down, and cheer for you when you're down or up, whatever. But and just have a lot of fun. I think that I can't think of like one specific episode that's appropriate to share on a podcast.
Recorded for all of
For all
eternity.
posterity. I
Yeah.
just don't need that on air. So I'll just leave it with that.
I feel like seeing, especially the pastors, I don't want to say in the wild, but they're real people.
Yeah.
And I think you see that, especially even on Sunday mornings. Even in Derek's preaching, he will sit there and say, like, I'm preaching also to myself. I think that's helpful because a lot of times you go to a church and they act like they're above you, and we're all human.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to a really big church growing up, and I loved my experience, but it also felt, I know it can feel like pastors and staff are inaccessible, and I hope that's not the case here. And even being on staff for so long, I can honestly and confidently say the people on staff are who they say they are, and I have respect for everyone on staff, even seeing them at their worst or hearing them at their worst. Maybe,
Yeah.
I still respect everyone tremendously for their walk with Christ and the role that they play here. So I think that really says a lot about our church family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if I were going to answer that question,
What's your answer?
Yeah.
I really like making Kevin laugh.
Oh,
It's just fun, and it's always going to be an office reference for me. So.
Yes. Well,
Like from
for
the TV
Zach
show.
and I, we like to go into his office and sit in a chair and just say, "How you doing, Kevin?" And just see how uncomfortable we can make him, and that brings us great pleasure.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it's really fun.
I don't try to make him feel uncomfortable.
Oh well, I do.
I just try to make him laugh.
if you snuggle up really close to him on the couch, he may squeam a little bit.
Yeah, probably. I would too. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for the Pastor Speak podcast, where there are no pastors. We'll have pastors next time, maybe.
Maybe
I don't know. This is a whole vacation season right now for our
Yeah.
staff, it feels like.
Yes.
next
So-
week's gonna be.
Yeah.
Don't
Next week's going to be
come.
a ghost town.
I'm just going to have John in here. Like, I'll just have to have John. He's the only pastor.
With some tumbleweeds
Yeah.
in the background.
So, anyways, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for our listeners. I'd never say this on YouTube, but I probably should at some point. So if you liked this, please actually give it a thumbs up, like it. And if you need to, subscribe so you can get more content like this. And if you're listening to on your podcast outlet, whatever it is, make sure you're subscribed so you get updates and stuff when we release new episodes. And until then, go serve your king.